Imagine holding a piece of American history that has silently witnessed the end of the 19th century, the rise of the industrial age, and the transformation of a young nation into a global power. Now picture a coin minted in a year when America was preparing for war, expanding its influence and shaping its identity as a modern country. And that coin is the 1898 Barber half-dollar, a piece that collectors today do not simply see as money, but as a living artifact, a relic that whispers stories of political tension, national pride, and craftsmanship from a forgotten era. This is not just silver, this is history, frozen in metal, and in this video we are going to dive so deep into the world of the 1898 half-dollar that by the end of this journey you will know every detail, every twist, every hidden fact, and every mystery behind one of the most fascinating coins in United States history. So sit back and imagine the world as it was in 1898, a nation standing on the edge of war factories, roaring cities, overcrowded ships moving across the oceans, and people carrying silver coins in their pockets that today would be worth small fortunes. This is the story of the 1898 Barber half-dollar and the world it lived in. The year was 1898, and the United States was shifting from a quiet continental power to a nation ready to step onto the world stage. The Spanish-American War was just beginning, a conflict that would change the nation forever. And while politicians debated, newspapers shouted, and soldiers trained, ordinary Americans carried coins like the Barber half-dollar to buy their bread, their newspapers, and their daily necessities. The mint was busy creating silver coins that embodied reliability, strength, and national identity. The Barber design, created by Charles Barber, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint, was seen everywhere. The strong profile of liberty, the classical wreath, the heraldic eagle on the reverse, all of it spoke to a nation that wanted both tradition and confidence. When the 1898 half-dollar was struck, it carried more than metal weight. It carried messages about American life. The New Orleans Mint, the Philadelphia Mint, and sometimes San Francisco were responsible for creating these coins, and although millions were produced, far fewer survived in high condition because these were working coins used every single day. The country was booming and people spent their money constantly, which meant heavy circulation, long wear, and the gradual fading of the fine details on Liberty's face and the eagle's feathers. This is what makes a high-grade 1898 half-dollar so desirable today. Collectors hunt for sharp details, full rims, and clean surfaces because every flaw speaks to another person who once used that coin on a dusty street in 19th century America. Now imagine the minting process in 1898. No modern computers, no scanning tools, no laser engraving. Everything depended on skilled hands and precise craftsmanship. Charles Barber had created a design that was meant to be bold, durable, and not too fancy because these coins had to survive real everyday use. The coin dies were prepared with care. The blanks were punched in heavy presses, and each strike was a moment where molten force shaped silver into a national emblem. These coins would travel from city to city store, pocket to pocket. Every mark, every scratch, every tiny dent tells a chapter in its journey. But beyond minting, the real story lies in the world of 1898. Itself, America was rapidly changing. Immigrants were arriving in record numbers. Factories produced goods at speeds never seen before. Railroads linked the country from coast to coast, and new inventions such as the telephone, electricity, and modern machinery were transforming how people lived and worked. Yet the silver half-dollar remained an anchor in this changing world. Its weight, its shine, its value gave people a sense of stability and trust. The Barber half-dollar was more than currency. It was a symbol of everyday American life. As the Spanish-American War unfolded in 1898, coins like this paid for newspapers reporting headlines of battles in Cuba and Manila. They passed through the hands of workers in steel factories, rail yards, and ship docks. They were carried by soldiers traveling south toward military camps and even found their way into the pockets of sailors on American warships. Silver was scarce in some regions, so the half-dollar became especially important for transactions. Its solid feel and trustworthiness made it a favorite among the public. Collectors today look at the 1898 half-dollar and see three key versions: the 1898 from Philadelphia with no mint mark, the 1898 O from New Orleans, and the far rarer high-grade examples that survived without damage. Each has a slightly different story because the mints themselves had unique histories. Philadelphia, the original mint of the country, produced the sharpest and most consistent strikes. New Orleans, with its humid climate and older machinery, often created coins with softer details and more issues, but that New Orleans mint mark O is precisely what some collectors find charming because it adds personality and history to the coin. When evaluating an 1898 half-dollar, experts study Liberty's hair, the ear, the laurel wreath, the shield on the eagle's chest, and especially the feathers on the wingtips. A strong strike shows crisp lines and deep texture, while a weak strike looks flat, washed out, or worn even when the coin has not seen heavy circulation. This makes grading barber coins especially challenging and adds to their mystique. Some collectors spend years searching for that one perfect example, that one coin with the perfect strike that seems almost frozen in time, as if it skipped the century of use that most of its brothers endured. The silver content of the 1898 half-dollar also tells an economic story. Each coin is composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, a composition that connected America's coinage to global silver markets. When silver prices rose or fell, it affected national policy and political debate. The late 19th century saw intense battles between supporters of silver and gold. The free silver movement dominated conversations leading up to the turn of the century, so when you hold an 1898 half-dollar, you are holding part of an economic conflict that shaped the future of American monetary policy. As the 20th century approached, the barber design stayed in use but slowly fell out of favor. Critics said it lacked artistic beauty compared to European coins, and public demand grew for something more elegant. Eventually, the Barber series would be replaced by the Walking Liberty half-dollar in 1916, one of the most beautiful coins in American history. But the Barber series, including the 1898 issue, remains deeply respected for its strength, its historical connection, and its no-nonsense representation of American identity. In the world of coin collecting, the 1898 half-dollar sits in a special place. It is not impossibly rare, yet finding one in excellent condition is a challenge that excites collectors. Values can range from modest for worn pieces to extremely high for the few that survived in near-perfect condition. Because of age circulation and metal wear, most coins from that year show bruises, scratches, and softness in detail. But those imperfections are part of the charm. They tell the stories of countless hands that passed them on wooden counters, dusty general stores, train station ticket windows, and busy city streets. We explore deeper. Imagine the life of one single 1898 half-dollar. Maybe it was used by a farmer in rural Kansas, or a factory worker in Chicago, or a sailor traveling the Gulf Coast. Maybe it was dropped in a dirt road, picked up by a child, saved for a treat, or kept in a small leather purse for decades. Each transaction, each pocket, each life it touched added invisible fingerprints to its surface, until one day, a collector found it decades later, polished by time with its history, etched into every line. The 1898 half-dollar is not just a coin, it is a storyteller. It is a survivor. It is a piece of a nation emerging from the 19th century into a new era of power, technology, and culture. And now in this 2-hour deep dive, you have opened the door into that world, a world of battles and industry migration and invention, and the quiet everyday rhythm of people living their lives with silver coins jingling in their pockets as silent companions of history.